All right, so just what you've seen from Maryland so far, what kind of problems do they cause?
Yeah, obviously, Gillespie and Derek Queen have given them two pieces where the ball can go. Gillespie is a really good guard. He's got good quickness, can create for himself, can break down the defense. He's got big time range. Queen is a guy that can facilitate, and play offense through, and not just like in the low post. Like he can play on the perimeter, he can play in the high post, he can play in the low post. His ability to pass and make plays for himself and for others is big time. You don't see a guy of that size that can do the things that he can. Rodney Rice is a good player. He's got good athleticism, can score the basketball. The kid from South Florida, Selton McGuell, isn't scoring as much as he did there, but isn't as the highest volume. Obviously, with all those guys I mentioned and Julian Reese, they have a really good starting five, and they got guys that can make plays, can make threes. They got obviously a big time front line. They got good depth. The guys coming off the bench have a lot of experience too. They don't have a lot of experience together, but I think that's what you've kind of seen here in non-conference and what they've gained, because they're putting up some big time numbers. They had a really good win to start off Big Ten play against Ohio State. They had a tough loss against Marquette. They could have went either way there. They had a big time win come from behind against Villanova. So they're battle tested. This is going to be a tough game for us.
When people have bigger front courts with the way your lineups are currently constructed, what do you have to do to leverage that, to do this stuff people have been trying to do to you for a couple of years?
Well, it's twofold. Like defensively, you can't let the ball get to where they want to get it, and then you have to be good in your scheme. And so everybody's got to be on the same page with that. And then you have to be solid with it and keep the ball in front of you, or you're going to mess up your rotations and box outs. If you're constantly rotating and you don't have good block out responsibility, it's really hard when they have a size advantage. We've seen the flip into that on our end, right? And we get people in rotations, but then we get a lot of offensive rebounds. So I think that piece is going to be important. And we do have some size. And so like the guys that come off the bench, it's got to be able to give us a spark and give us a level of physicality, against those guys. But that's easier said than done, because they're, really good players. But also we got to flip it on the other end. We got to be able to utilize the strengths of our players in our front line, whether that's Cam making threes or Trey navigating in the low to the high post.
How's Trey doing defensively?
He's doing
your
fine.
Mind at the five.
Yeah, he's doing fine. And that's not the issue. Our issue is taking care of the basketball. His issue in the last game was taking care of the basketball, but that was everybody. It was everybody on our team. The guys that played the most normally are going to make the most when you have a night like that. So we got to do a better job of giving ourselves a chance and getting a quality shot and not playing in transition so much. If you're going to go on the road and play in transition a lot from a defensive standpoint, you're going to be in trouble.
The landscape of the Big Ten varies from year to year, but one thing that's a constant is you have to protect your home court if you want to win a league title. So especially coming off a loss, how much value is in this game and having to bounce back?
Yeah, I think when you have a loss like ours, it's just trying to win the next game, right? And just trying to build off of that. But if you go back and look at all the people that have won league titles, they normally are 10-0, 9-1 at the worst, 8-2. And you're going to have some slip ups, you're going to have some things happen, but to get out the gate, trying to get that first win in conference play, especially at home, is huge. But yeah, that's a must. Nobody's winning the league going 6-4 at home, going 5-5 at home. That's just not going to happen. But right now our focus is more of just a quality of play. Our quality of play was so poor other night. We couldn't function. And you can give credit to Penn State all you want. And they did some really good things, but we've played some really athletic teams. Like we prepared to play Penn State and Maryland through playing NC State and playing Marquette and Ole Miss and all the teams that we've played, Alabama. So like you think about the athleticism and the quickness and the talent that I just mentioned, it should get you prepared to play, especially when you go on the road and play Creighton, to start the season. But it didn't look that way other night. And so like our concentration and our focus has to be at a higher level.
Does Quinn pose a different challenge from an athletic standpoint at that position?
Yeah, just his skill and his size, more than anything. Like, obviously they got two bigs together trying to navigate right there, and we got to do a good job of being aware of what they're trying to get accomplished. But when you get behind those plays, that's where he really kills you, because now you get in a rotation, and he's such a good passer and he's such a good shot maker.
Do you have to be ready now for more people to trap Braden up high, get the ball out of his hands, and make the right play after that?
Yeah, it just depends on, he's got to be able to speed dribble past them and make that. So when you have 24 turnovers and he has 3, when you go right down the list, like that's, if that's your only issue, it's good to have then, right? You have one issue. That's not our only issue. Like I think we set a record for how many different types of turnovers we could have in a game. I mean, it was just it was a comedy of errors. And so that's for us, that's like the least of our worries at this point. Like we play constantly going against people that trap us, that blitz us, that high hedge, that attack us. They're in a drop, they switch. And so, from day one, you're always working on those things. June, July, August, September, October.
Yeah.
Like, you put in a lot of time with that. So we just have to make the right reads. You just got to take what the defense gives you and make the right reads, and we'll be fine.
Is it coincidence, or what is it about a road game that seemed to magnify some of your issues this season?
Yeah.
Just in those 2 games.
Yeah, in those 2 games, I would start with the quality of teams, then the aggressiveness of those teams. But like I've said before, like we've seen that, but we haven't. That's not been on the road. So I think that's probably the kind of common denominator there. But it's still basketball, right? And you're still dealing with a lot of people that have played in those games. Like the guys that got the, chunk of our turnovers are guys that started in Final Fours or a Final Four. So I think, and they won 2 Big Ten championships. So, I've watched them play against elite people and not turn it over. So that's where, we just have to concentrate, make the reads, and just play to our strengths.